Good morning, everyone. Today we would be discussing about the tooth supporting structures. The pedontium is a connective tissue organ which is covered by epithelium that attaches the teeth to the bones of the jaws and provides a continuous adapting apparatus for the support of the teeth during the function. So the structures which are surrounding the teeth are a part of a pedontium, and these comprises of four connective tissues. Two are the mineralized tissues and two are the fibrous connective tissues. So two hard mineralized tissues are the cementum, alveolar bone, and two fibrous connective tissues which are the soft tissues are the periodontal ligament and the gingiva. This figure depicts the soft tissues and the hard tissues surrounding the teeth. The gingiva and periodontal ligament are the soft structures, while cementum and alveolar bone are the hard structures. Soft tissues are the gingiva, periodontal ligament, while hard tissues are the cementum and the alveolar bone. Now talking about gingiva. Gingiva is a part of oral mucosa that covers the alveolar process of the jaws and surrounds the neck of a teeth in the collar-like fashion. The oral mucosa can be classified functionally as well as structurally. Functionally, it is divided into masticatory mucosa, lining or the reflecting mucosa, and the specialized mucosa. Structurally, it is keratinized or it might be non-keratinized. How do we divide anatomically the gingiva? Gingiva has got free gingiva or the marginal gingiva, the attached gingiva or the functional mucosa, and interdental papilla. The interdental papilla is the papilla or the part of gingiva which is between the two teeth. Now marginal gingiva. Free or unattached or the movable part of gingiva is called as marginal gingiva. It is 1 millimeter wide and it is separated from attached gingiva by free gingival groove in 50% of the cases. It is non-stippled and it is keratinized. It surrounds the teeth in the collar-like fashion. Gingival sulcus. Can you see the crevice or the space around the teeth? This space is known as gingival sulcus. It is bounded by the tooth surface on one side and epithelium lining the free gingiva on the other side. It is a V-shaped structure, and in absolute normal conditions when there is no infection, the depth of the sulcus is 0. Histologically, the depth is 1.8 millimeters and probing depth clinically it is 2 to 3 millimeters. Now coming to the attached gingiva. Attached gingiva is a continuous with the marginal gingiva. It is firm, resilient, tightly bound to the underlying periosteum, and it is demarcated with the alveolar mucosa by the mucogingival junctions. Once we say mucogingival junctions, the term mucogingival means the junction between the alveolar mucosa and the gingiva. Now, what is the significance of attached gingiva? Attached gingiva, which is below your marginal gingiva, and it is between the marginal gingiva and your alveolar mucosa. It is known as attached gingiva and it is firmly bound to the underlying periosteum. It gives support to the marginal gingiva. It helps to withstand functional stress. It provides solid base for movable alveolar mucosa as well as it helps to prevent soft tissue recession and attachment loss. Stippling of attached gingiva. Stippling is one of the characteristics which give the gingiva the orange peel appearance. It is best viewed by drying the gingiva and it may vary with the age and the gender. It is more numerous in the lower jaw. Now you can well appreciate the orange peel appearance with the depressions around the gingiva. This is known as stippling. The interdental gingiva. Interdental gingiva was first coined by Cohen. It is between the two teeth. We can see the interdental gingiva. It occupies your embrasure, pyramidal in shape, and the shape varies according to the position of the teeth. The facial and lingual surfaces are tapered towards the interproximal area, and mesial and distal surfaces are narrow. So this is how the interdental gingiva looks like between the two teeth, the triangular or the pyramidal shape. The caul is a belly-like depression. When we see in the cross section, it is a depression that connects the facial and the lingual papilla. These are the pictures which show the depression between the facial and the lingual papilla. This is the interdental caul. Now, what are the 8 changes in the gingival epithelium? Recession occurs, that is, your gingiva recedes downwards, and there is increase in width of attached gingiva, which occurs with the increasing age. Also, there is atrophy of epithelium, atrophy of epithelial papilla, and increase in cell density and decreased rate of maturation. The principal cells of gingival epithelium are the keratinocytes and non-keratinocytes. The keratinocytes are the melanocytes, Merkel cells, Langerhans cells, and the inflammatory cells. The keratinocytes are the epithelial cells that ultimately keratinize and are called as keratinocytes or keratinocytes. It is an dehydrated cell and principal cell of the gingival epithelium. The non-keratinocytes are the Langerhans cells. These are the Langerhans cells, the Merkel cells, and the melanocytes, which give the brownish discoloration to the gingiva. This brownish discoloration is because of the non-keratinocytes, the melanocytes. Now the layers of gingival epithelium. Stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, and stratum corneum are the 4 layers of gingival epithelium. The protective nature of gingival epithelium. The complete keratinization process leads to the production of orthokeratinized epithelium. Only some areas of gingival epithelium is orthokeratinized, while the other areas are parakeratinized or non-keratinocytes. These are the pictures of oral epithelium which extend from gingival margin to the alveolar mucosa. It covers a clinically visible part of free gingiva and the attached gingiva. The sulcular epithelium, that is a V-shaped sulcus. These are the histological pictures of sulcular epithelium. The junctional epithelium. The extracellular compartment comprises of the connective tissue fibers which are produced by the fibroblasts. Collagen fibers, reticulin, and elastic fibers are the components of extracellular compartment. The elastic fiber system is composed of oxytocin, ilunin, and the elastin fibers. The reticulin fibers and the elastic fibers are present in association with the blood vessels, and they are absent in gingiva caudal to the mucogingival junction. The gingival fibers are present in the gingiva to brace the marginal gingiva firmly against the tooth. So gingival fibers helps in affirming the gingiva and holding it tightly with that of a tooth, and it provides a rigidity which is necessary to withstand the forces of mastication without being deflected away from the tooth surface. The various gingival fibers are mentioned: the circular fibers, dentogingival fibers, alveolo-gingival fibers, periosteal fibers, transeptal, transgingival, interpapillary, intercircular, and intergingival fibers. The blood supply of gingiva is supraperiosteal arterioles, vessels from periodontal ligament, arterioles emerging from the crest of interdental septa. So this is the blood supply and vascularization of the gingiva. The diagram depicts the arterial blood supply of gingiva from the infraorbital artery, greater palatine artery, buccal artery, sublingual artery, mental artery, and the facial artery. Gingival lymphatic drainage brings in the lymphatics of the connective tissue papilla. It progresses into the collecting network external to the periosteum of alveolar process and then to the regional lymph nodes. In addition, lymphatics just beneath the functional epithelium extend into the periodontal ligament and occupy the blood vessels. These are the gingival innervations derived from fibers arising from the nerves in the periodontal ligament, from labial, buccal, and palatal nerves, Receptors are seen as free endings within the papillary layer of lamina propria, and all are found in the free and the attached gingiva. There is a correlation between the normal, clinical, and microscopic features, that is the color. First is the color. The color of gingiva reflects the clinical condition of gingiva. Normally, it is coral pink in color, which is because of the vascular supply, the thickness, the degree of keratinization, and presence of pigment containing cells like melanocytes. But in case if there is inflammation, infection, the color changes from normal coral pink and it becomes reddish to bluish color. It gives gingiva reddish to bluish hue in the color because of the engorgement of the vascular supply beneath the epithelium. So this is a normal coral pink color which can be seen in the figures. These are the variations of gingiva where we have got more melanocytes, because of which it gets the brownish depigmentation on the gingiva. Now consistency. There are variations in consistency of healthy gingiva also. Normally it is firm fibrous gingiva which is thick in phenotype, delicate scarcely stippled gingiva, thin biotype and phenotype. The thicker gingiva provides better conditions for treatment and wound healing in comparison to the thin phenotype. The surface texture. The surface texture shows the stippling of gingiva. The stippling of gingiva is present. The orange pale appearance is given only when there is no inflammation. While in the second figure, you can well appreciate there is absence of stippling because of inflammation in the gums. The size of gingiva corresponds with the sum total of the bulk of cellular and intercellular elements and their vascular supply. If there is inflammation, the size is increased and we call it as gingival enlargement. The picture depicts the case where we have got inflammation of gums and gingiva is enlarged and hence the size also is enlarged. The contour of gingiva. Mandibular gingiva envelops the teeth in collar-like fashion and follows a scalloped outline on the facial and lingual surfaces. The scalloping of gingiva around the teeth can be seen. The shape of gingiva or the shape of incidental gingiva is governed by the contour of proximal tooth surfaces and the location and shape of gingival embrasures. These are the different shapes of gingiva because of the placement or the alignment of the teeth. If the teeth will be inside, the gingiva will be covering them and the alignment will be according to the contour of the proximal tooth surfaces. The position of gingiva. The position of gingiva refers to the level at which gingival margin is attached to the tooth. So now we conclude about gingiva. The health of gingiva is an important factor in determining the overall health of periodontium. The maintenance of gingival health is crucial for all the forms of periodontal therapy, whether it be of non-surgical therapy or surgical therapy. The gingival condition has to be maintained by brushing twice daily. The healthy gingiva helps in maintaining the support of teeth and thus preserves the integrity and function of teeth in the dental arch. The importance of healthy gingiva should be well understood both by the clinician and the patient, as it solely determines the successful treatment outcome. Now, the next soft tissue structure which we are going to discuss is the periodontal ligament. The periodontal ligament. The average width of the ligament varies with function from 0.15 to 0.38 millimeters. The periodontal ligament is a soft structure which is made up of the fibers and surrounds the teeth. It is the main part which connects the teeth and the alveolar bone. So it helps in the connecting link between your tooth and the gingiva and the bone. The periodontal ligament is hourglass shaped, that is thinner in the midroot region. The composition of periodontal ligament, it is mainly made up of the cells, the synthetic cells like osteoblasts, fibroblasts, cementoblasts. It has got resorptive cells like osteoclasts, fibroblasts, cementoclasts. The progenitor cells, that originate from the hematopoietic cells, epithelial cell rest of malaise, inflammatory cells. The fibroblasts, now we'll be discussing about the fibroblasts, which are the spindle-shaped and polarized cells, pleomorphic, fusiform, or tripolar in nature. They can be active as well as resting. Whenever they are active, they are either leading to the formation or resorption of the principal peduncle ligament fibers. When they are in the resting state, that means they are not in action. Cementoblasts. These cells are responsible for secreting the organic matrix of the cementum. When active, they may appear as distinct layer on the cell of the root surface. Osteoblasts. When the osteoblast cells are active, they form a layer of cuboidal cells with strong basophilic cytoplasm. The fibers of the ligament that penetrate the bone intervene between these cells. These constitutes a modified endosteum for bone of the socket. Now, osteoclast cells. Osteoclast cells are the cells that resorb the bone. They occupy the bay in the bone, which is called as house-shaped lacunae, or surrounds the end of the bony spicule. The cementoclast. Cementoclast cells are the multinucleated cells which are associated with the resorption of cementum and the dentine, which are the structures of the tooth. So cementoclast function is to resorb or to eat away the part of cementum or the dentine which is decayed or necrosed. These are referred as cementoclast or odontoclast. Though cementum is relatively resistant to resorption, it can get resorbed under trauma also or under excessive occlusal forces. So when the occlusal forces exceeds the capacity of bearing the force, our cementoclast cells get activated and they go for the resorptions of the cells which have been destroyed. The epithelial cell rest of malaise. These cells protect against the root resorption and maintains the peduncle ligament space. Macrophages. These are the predominantly inflammatory cells which are present adjacent to the blood vessels. They have got a dual role of phagocytosing the dead cells and removing the inflammation and the debris. The mast cells. Histamine plays an important role in the inflammation and it causes proliferation of endothelial cells and the mesenchymal cells. The ground substance of peduncle ligament is composed of proteoglycans, glycosaminoglycans, fibronectin, laminin, and tenascin. Peduncle ligament fibers are mainly the collagen fibers, and peduncle ligament is mostly supported with the help of the collagen fibers, which can be type 1 and type 3. The type 1 collagen mainly forms the principal fiber bundle. So the main fiber group in the peduncle ligament is the type 1 fibers, and these fibers are mostly composed of different amino acids which are mainly glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, and hydroxylysine. The type 4 collagen fibers also maintains the integrity of peduncle ligament by anchoring the elastic system to the vasculature. And there are type 12 fibers also which helps in the organization of the extracellular matrix. The principal fiber bundles are alveolar crest fibers. The alveolar crest fibers run from cementum near the cemento-enamel junction apically into the bone of alveolar crest. Their function is to retain the tooth in the socket and also to oppose the lateral forces. It protects deeper peduncle structures as well. The second group of fibers is the horizontal fibers. These run from cementum coronally covering 10 to 15% of the root surface and directed laterally into the walls of the alveolus. Their function is to restrain the lateral tooth movements. Then coming to the oblique fibers, which is the next group of the principal fibers, it runs from cementum to middle 80 to 85% of root surface coronally and obliquely into the alveolar wall. Their function is to resist axillary directed forces. The apical group of fibers, these group of fibers run from cementum at the root apex, splaying apically and laterally into the bone of alveolar fundus, and their function is to prevent tooth tipping movements. resists the luxation of the tooth, and protects blood, lymph, and nerve supply of the tooth. Next group of the fibers is the interradicular group of fibers. These fibers run from cementum of a bifurcated or a trifurcated areas. Bifurcated or trifurcated means the molars or the teeth which are present posteriorly have got 2 to 3 roots. If there is presence of 2 roots, we call it as a bifurcated root, and if there are 3 roots, we call it as a trifurcated root. So that fibers which are running between the roots of molars, either a bifurcated area when there are presence of 2 roots in the teeth, the fibers are interradicular fibers. And in the case when there are 3 roots, we call it as a trifurcated tooth, and between these 3 roots there are fibers which are running. They are also called as interradicular fibers. So in a single tooth, when we have got more number of roots, the fibers which are running are called as interradicular fibers. They help in splaying apical fibers into the furcation areas, and their function is to aid in resisting the tipping and the torquing forces. It also resists the luxation of a tooth. Now, secondary fibers. The secondary fibers are the indifferent fiber plexus, which comprises of elastic fibers, oxytocin fibers, and the iluline fibers. Next is the intermediate plexus, which is also a part of the secondary fibers. These were said that it has been said by Seacher that this was an area of high metabolic activity where splicing and unsplicing of fibers takes place. The blood supply of pedontal ligament is dental branch of alveolar arteries, interradicular branch of alveolar arteries, and interdental branches of alveolar arteries. So the afferent blood supply of pedontal ligament is derived from these 3 branches of alveolar arteries: dental, interradicular, and interdental. The lymphatic drainage. The lymph channels appear to originate as cul-de-sac in the gingival and the palatal mucosa, spongy bone, and the tissue of the pedontal ligament. The large lymphatic channels follow the paths of the blood vessels. On the way to lymph nodes, the flow is via the alveolar lymph channels, which are joined by the dental and interradicular lymph channels. The significance of the lymphatic drainage is the adequacy of the vascular and lymphatic architecture is manifested in the efficiency of various developmental, repair, and health processes that occur continuously within the various connective tissue supporting the teeth. In addition to their nutrient function and removal of cellular waste, the blood vessels of ligament act as a hydraulic shock absorbing system, cushioning the tooth against the light occlusal forces. The innervations of the pedontal ligament, which is the soft structure, are it contains both sensory and autonomic nerve endings. The sensory innervation of pedontal ligament serves the functions of touch, pressure, pain, and proprioception. The various nerve endings found in pedontal ligament are the free nerve endings, raffinate corpuscles, coil forms, and spindle-like ending. The autonomic innervation originates from the superior cervical ganglion. It is associated with control of smooth muscles associated with the pedontal vasculature. The functions of pedontal ligament are the physical function. Physical function entails the provision of soft tissue casing to protect the vessels, nerves from injury by mechanical forces, transmission of occlusal forces to the bone, attachment of teeth to the bone, maintenance of gingival tissue in their proper relationship to the teeth, resistance of impact of occlusal force by shock absorption. The resistance to impact of occlusal forces is supported by 3 theories which supports the mechanism of tooth support and which has been considered. The peduncle ligament depends upon the stimulation provided by the occlusal function to preserve its structure within the physiological limits. A reduction in function leads to the narrowing of the peduncle ligament. In case if there is acute trauma to the peduncle ligament, the accidental blows or rapid mechanical separations may produce pathological changes such as fractures or resorption of the cementum. So orthodontic tooth movements depends on the resorption and the formation of both peduncle ligament and the bone. Such orthodontic tooth movements can be stimulated by properly regulating the pressure and the tension. The major objective of peduncle ligament therapy is to restore the lost fibrous attachment and the bone that occurs due to the periodontitis. If inflammatory diseases of the pulp are not treated, the inflammation can extend to the apical peduncle ligament as well. The functions of peduncle ligament. It generates new fibers and continuity of fibers from the cementum to the bone. It prevents apical migration of the epithelium. It contributes cells to regenerate lost bone and the cementum, and it acts as a biological sensor and activator to regulate its own. So periodontitis leads to loss of part of pedontium, hence it becomes essential to understand the anatomy and morphology of the ligament, which also helps in understanding the healing process and the various methods to regenerate the pedontal ligament. Now we'll discuss about the cementum, which is a hard tissue structure. From a pedontal viewpoint, the formation of cementum is a key event in the development of the root and the supporting pedontium. The cells present in the cementum are the neural crest cells, epithelial root sheath cells. The physical characteristics of the cementum are that it is light yellow, laxy lustered, lighter than the dentine, less hard. Layer of human cementum is thin, more permeable than the dentine, and cementum surrounds the root portion of your teeth. The cementum is encircling the root portion of the teeth, while enamel covers the crown of the teeth, which is seen externally. The inorganic content in the cementum is calcium and phosphates in the form of hydroxyapatite crystals. Its highest fluoride content and has got calcium and magnesium. The organic content contains type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers. The non-collagenous proteins and the predominant non-collagenous proteins are the bone phylloproteins, osteonectin, osteopontin, and the fibronectin. Cementum is rich in the glycoconjugates, which represents either the glycolipids, glycoproteins, or proteoglycan, and harbors a variety of the other proteins. The cells which are present in the cementum are the cementoblasts, cementocytes, cementoclasts. These are the cementoblasts. Now, how do we classify cementum? On the basis of presence and absence of cells, we call it as acellular if cells are not present, and cellular if the cells are present in the matrix. On the basis of origin of collagenous fibers of the matrix, they are intrinsic fibers and the extrinsic fibers. This is the other classification which was given by the Schuders. Now, what is cemento-dentinal junction? The junction between your cementum and the dentine is called as the cemento-dentinal junction. It can be smooth or scalloped. It is firm in attachment, but sometimes dentine is separated from the cementum by the zone known as the intermediate cemental layer. This layer is predominantly seen in the apical two-thirds of the roots of the molars and the premolars. Note down that molars and premolars are the posterior teeth in the oral cavity, while the incisors are the anterior teeth. There is another junction which is cemento-enamel junction. Cemento-enamel junction is a junction between your cementum and the enamel. Enamel is the outer covering of the crown, while cementum is a covering on the root surface. So this junction will probably be located between your crown and the root. And 60 to 65% of cementum is overlapping type of the cementum, where cementum overlaps the enamel. The second type of the junction is 30%, which is end-to-end relationship where cementum and enamel form a butt joint at an angle of 90 degree. While very few cases of 5 to 10% of the cases is there where we have a gap junction, or there is the root is exposed, it is not covered by the cementum. So this is called as a gap junction, and it is present in 5 to 10%. What are the functions of the cementum? First function is anchorage, then it gives the attachment, then adaptive and reparative functions. It has got repairing properties for the roots, thinning of necrotic pulps by occluding apical foramen, protecting underlying dentine. Cementum in disease or alteration in the cementum. There are conditions where cementums get altered, like in the cases of hypercementosis, ankylosis, root fracture, root sensitivity, root caries, aberration, cemental tears. Root sensitivity. Root hypersensitivity is a common problem in the periodontal practice. It may occur spontaneously when root becomes exposed as a result of gingival recession or a pocket formation, or it may appear after scaling and root cleaning and the surgical procedure. The root sensitivity occurs more frequently in the cervical area of the root, where the cementum is extremely thin. Scaling and root cleaning procedures may entirely remove this thin cementum, inducing the hypersensitivity. There is transmission of stimuli from the surface of dentine of the nerve endings located in the dental pulp, and this pulpal region of dentine may occur through the odontoblastic process or owing to the hydrodynamic mechanism which causes the sensitivity of the teeth. Whenever the stimuli is bared on the dentine, there is a certain movement in the fluid which is called as hydrodynamic mechanism, which causes the sensitivity as the stimuli migrate and the fluid travels through the tubule and excites the nerve. Alveolar bone. The bone tissue. Bone tissue is a specialized form of connective tissue and is the main element of the skeletal tissues. It is composed of cells and an extracellular matrix in which fibers are embedded. Functions of the bone. The bone supports, it provides a framework that supports and anchors the soft organs. It protects the skull and the vertebrae surround the soft tissue of the nervous system, and the rib cage protects vital thoracic organs. So it's a kind of function which is provided by the bones of the body. Then the functions are the movement, storage, and blood cell formations. Now, how do we classify bones? Developmentally, it is endochondral bone and intramembranous bone, histologically compact or cortical bone, spongy or the cancellous bone, by shape long bones or the short bones. These are the chemical properties of the bone. That 60% of the inorganic material is formed by the hydroxyapatite, while organic component mostly is the type 1 collagen fibers. The structural elements of the bone are the mostly they are the bone cells, the odontoblast or osteocytes, osteoclasts. The odontoplasts are the mononucleate cells that are responsible for the bone formation. They help in the synthesis of the bone. Osteocytes, when osteoblasts become trapped in the matrix, they become osteocytes. Osteoclasts is a type of a bone cells that removes the bone tissue by removing its mineralized matrix and breaking up the organic bone. The bone matrix, it is an intercellular substance of the bone consisting of collagenous fibers, ground substance, and the inorganic salts. The Sharpless fibers are the matrix of the connective tissue consisting of bundles of collagenous fibers connecting periosteum to the bone. It is composed of blood vessels, nerves, and the lymph vessels. Together, they form the matrix of the bone. This is the alveolar process. The alveolar process is thickened ridge of the bone that contains the tooth sockets on the bone that bear the teeth. The alveolar process contains a region of compact bone adjacent to the periodontal ligament, which is called as lamina dura. The maxilla and the mandible are the tooth-bearing bones. So the upper jaw bone is called as maxilla, while the lower jaw bone is called as the mandible, and both are tooth-bearing bones, and the bone within this maxilla and mandible are called as the alveolar processes, which bears the tooth. This is the alveolar process. The specialized bone structure that contains the alveoli or the sockets of the teeth and supports the teeth is called as the alveolar process. If the teeth are lost, the alveolar process also disappears. It is composed mainly of two parts, alveolar bone proper and the supporting bone. This is the structure where you can well appreciate the surrounding structures around the teeth. There are peduncle ligament fibers. Then the outer covering of the bone is known as the alveolar bone proper, and the bone in the center is called as the supporting bone or the spongy bone. The outer bone is the dense bone, while the inner bone is the compact bone, or it's the spongy bone, and or it's the cancellous bone, which is less dense in comparison to the outer bone. Cribriform plate. Cribriform plate is also called as a bundle bone. It is the compact layer of the bone lining the tooth socket. It reflects the sieve-like appearance produced by numerous Volkmann canals passing from the alveolar bone to the peduncle ligament. Lamina dura. Lamina dura is a part which is attached to the cementum of the roots by the peduncle ligament. It is the bone lining the alveolus, and in clinical radiographs it is commonly appears as a dense white line which you can clearly see around the molars in the figure depicted, and also around the tooth which is adjacent to the multi-rooted teeth, which is known as premolar. This yellow line is known as the lamina dura. Functions. Alveolar bone forms and protects the sockets of the teeth. It gives the attachment to the peduncle ligament fibers, which are the principal fibers. It supports the tooth roots on the facial and on the palatal lingual sides. It helps absorb the forces placed upon the tooth by disseminating the force to the underlying tissues. There is a process of remodeling in which there is resorption, reversal phenomenon, formation of bone, and there is a stage which is called as a resting stage when there is no formation and no osteoclastic activity. Thank you. This finishes the tooth supporting structures.